Thanks for the warning.
Was back before it was a test track in 1924. It was an airport.
Really?
And that was before anybody knew what an airport was. You know, now a word airport is airport, but back then they flew airplanes into backyards and farm fields and that sort of thing. Well, Henry Ford.
Watch what happens to those hairs. See how I picked them right up?
Oh, yeah.
And off you go from right there. Now this machine was invented in India about the 9th century. They used it for silk and cotton. The Europeans got there and they said, huh, this is easier than what we're using, because they were using something called the drop spindle. About the 14th century, the little one where you sit down and treadle, called a Saxony wheel, was invented. And they say with the help of Leonardo da Vinci, whether it was or not, who knows. But that one is normally used to make linen thread. That comes from flax, that plant right there. And to spin that, it takes a lot more revolutions, and also it takes another hand. When you're spinning that, that doesn't have those little barbs and hooks. So what you do is you usually have a little bowl sitting on your spinning wheel. You dampen your fingers. Now you pull a fiber, and as you're feeding it into the machine and it's twisting, it's going through your damp fingers. It dampens it momentarily, and there's a natural glucose to that. So it's spun, and it dries real quick, and it's glued. And then, of course, then once it's woven, I mean, it's all tight, it's not going to come unravel. But so that's why with that, you have to use another hand, and it's slightly different. It takes more RPMs to do it. If you do wool too much with the RPMs, it actually thins it out too much and causes it to break.
I noticed that they have a number of cogs here.
Just to kind of help align it.
I see. Okay.
There are some machines, I have one like this at home. Mine can be geared, I can do flax on mine, because I have another wheel that's geared here. So this one turns this, and I still have a big one here with a small one here. It turns it even just that much faster. You need another ratio to it. So this on mine is mounted either here or up here, and there's another gear that drives it. Either that or Canadians make funny spinning wheels, because mine came from Canada. So, and then we can dye our wools. These are all natural. Bark, berries, roots, nuts, flowers, and bugs.
Bugs.
Oh, you use bugs all the time.
Yeah.
Any ladies use any lipstick or blush? You ever eat anything that's red candy like M&M's, Skittles, red licorice? Do you drink any drinks like Fruitopia, Kool-Aid, Ocean Spray Ruby Red Grapefruit? Ma'am, if it says Red 40 on the label, it's bug juice on the table. It's a little beetle called cochineal, and we get this color, but it can vary all the way up to a bright British red coat dye, depending on the primers. So we have that from beetles. We have this one from berries called pokeberries, marigold flowers, a seed. This is called annetta. This makes Cheetos, cheeses, macaroni and cheese, cheddar cheese. There's no one here old enough to remember the Second World War. But your margarine came in a plastic bag, and it looked like lard. It was white, which was kind of unappetizing. There was a little dye pack inside. All the kids used to fight to see who could break it, and then you would squeeze it, it would break, and then you would knead this package and mix all the yellow. That was annetta.
Oh, that was meta.
Indigo, same thing that colors your Levi's. It's a plant. Okay. Anybody ever mess with black walnuts? Right there. So green was hard to get. It was kind of an expensive dye. But what two colors make green?
Yellow and red.
Well, I simply made a yellow yarn, and I put it in a blue dye, and just depending on how long it stays in and stuff like that, I can end up with a green. So you can't necessarily mix bug juice and flower juice, and chemically they don't mix, but color-wise, that's called an overdye. And there's our green. So we have all different colors. Then we would take the yarn and either take the 2 sticks, what do they call that when grandma or mom is making a scarf, and what do they call that?
Sewing?
No, 2 sticks.
Have you seen Grandma do that? Big Grandma do that? She would knit.
Knitting.
She'd knit.
Yeah, or we can take this and put it on a loom, which is a machine that makes cloth.
Are the looms what we saw in the textile building?
Mm-hmm.
Big loom, big
Yeah,
looms.
and we also have one set up right now. We just did 2 nights ago. We set it up in the museum because we're closing the village.
Right.
And we're going to be doing a red, or a white and a blue gingham check, and we're making curtains for our fancy parlor over there out of linen. We've spun enough linen and dyed some of it blue, half of it blue, and we're weaving a blue and white gingham check. Because normally we have the loom up here in the fall. And we do our own weaving. About 1 family in 9 had a loom. But things were cloth was very expensive. It was probably, cloth was one of 2 things locked up in this house. One would be a box that had imported herbs and spices and dyes in it. And the other would be that chest right there. It's your linen chest. Very important. If this house caught on fire, that would be one of the first things to go out the door. Right there. There's hours, well, a year's worth of work to make clothes. To make you a new shirt, it's going to take a year. To make you a new pair of breeches, it's going to take a year. You had basically 4 changes of clothes, 2 for the winter and 2 for the summer. And that was it.
Did he show you how they got all
Supposed to be one-
all kinds of dirt and stuff on the floor. Of course, the Daggets weren't quite as careful about dirt and cleanliness as we are, but you see ashes all over the place here, and that would be something that would be very common in that time period. So, I washed our dishes. Where do you think where'd we get our water from? The well? How do we actually bring the water in the house? In the bucket, yeah. We'd probably take one of those brass buckets and take it out to the well and dip it in the water. And if we wanted to be really efficient, we might take the yoke here and take it out and hang 2 brass buckets on it. And have somebody run down to the well. We have running water in this house. Only if you have somebody running down to get it. And so then we have a bucket of cold water in this house. We want to have hot water to wash our dishes. How are we going to do that? What? Yeah. We do most of our work in the Great Hall there, so that's where our fire was today. But you're right. We have a big cast iron kettle in the open hearth there. And when we come in the morning, we start the fire in the Great Hall, and we fill up that cast iron kettle. And about noontime, we eat our dinner. After we're done, 3-4 hours after we get here, we do actually have hot water to wash our dishes in. So it's not like we can just go turn a tap on and get hot water to do our dishes. It takes a long time to do everything. It takes all that morning time, all those hours in the morning, to actually make your dinner, as we did, as the Daggets would have done. And we eat seasonally in this house, as the Daggets might have. We did have ham today, and they might not have had ham at this particular time, but one of our neighbors had to slaughter one of his hogs, and he shared some of his pork, his ham, with us. And so we were able to have some fresh ham for our meat today. Yes?
Do you actually live in this house?
No, we don't. We go home at 5 o'clock. We turn into real people again at 5 o'clock. But we do drive home in our modern cars dressed in these clothes. So we hope we don't have to stop and get gas or have a breakdown, because, well, we do. I mean, if we shop in Dearborn, people know we work in Greenfield. But some of us don't live in Dearborn, and I've been in stores out where I live in Pontiac, and they kind of look at you like, okay. But, hey, we're professionals, we can do this.
If you did that up in our place, they'd probably think you were a Mennonite.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you know, and that's all right. So, and there's a particular reason for the day cap that we wear. Ladies, of course, they had long hair at that point in time, and you don't want to get your hair into the fire. You don't want to catch it on fire. And they're not washing their hair quite as frequently as we do today. So it might be a little greasy and dirty, and that would help cover it up. But there was also a religious reason. They were Congregationalists, very close to Puritans. And in the Bible, it speaks of a lady's hair as a source of pride. So covering up the hair would be something so she was not looked at as a prideful lady. clothes out of. I think Ross was telling you about wool. Those would be the only two choices. So if you didn't want to wear wool, linen was the choice. Several layers of linen. We do actually have an undergarment here that is, it's a full-bodied garment with sleeves, and it was used actually for our nightgown as well. You can sleep in it. So if you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
What's your fruit there?
Well, these are actually cucumbers.
Cucumber?
We are going to, let's put this over here. We gathered them out of our garden. This is the type of cucumber they would have had in the 18th century. This is called a gherkin, and it's very spiny, as you can see. And what we're going to do, we're rubbing off the spines, and we are going to pickle these this afternoon if we have enough time. I'm not even sure what time it is right now, but we will actually pickle these. And they are similar in taste to maybe a cold pack pickle. It's not a cooked pickle. It's got a real crunchy taste to it. It's got a very thick skin. It's very thick skin. Yes.
Don't you get hot in all those times?
Not really. Linen is quite cool, you know, even though we have a number of layers on, and it's fairly cool today. And in the real hot days, of course, everybody was not feeling real well. But it's not real hot, no.
Excuse me, what's that hanging? All that.
All of this?
Yeah, what is all
Well, this is a drying pole, and as it's fall, we are harvesting foods out of our garden. This is a crookneck squash. It is the type of squash they would have had in the 1760s. This is chilies. These are beans here, and I think that's all this is dill. But with the squash, what we do, as the Daggetts would have done, we would cut it up in chunks and put it on flax string like this. Once it's very dry, as this is, we'll take it off and put it in linen bags here. Drying, as you see, was one of the major preservation techniques, and you need lots of air circulation around to get good drying. But then for storage,
after the potato famine. However, Henry Ford told us if we truly were going to take people back to their roots here in America, our first colonies were from great sewage and great
That's for the construction.
No. Did I give it Uncle Patrick's head?
I'm afraid of this thing to blow up on us.
What did you say his name was?
Oh, there's two guys up there.